What's up, folks? I'm trying something I've never done before. I'm going live on the bike. Is the image too shaky? Should I put this on a tripod? Is it too shaky? Let's see if it slows down. We can start with questions. If you guys have diet or exercise questions, go ahead and ask. I'll just start firing away. I'm good. All right. Should get steadier as I up the resistance. Okay, what's going on, guys? So I titled this Diet Lies You Don't Have to Listen To because, man, there's so much out there that's just completely factually inaccurate. And then there's a lot of stuff, like I just made a post. I don't know if TikTok's going to approve it. It's been a half an hour and they haven't let it go live, so they must not like something about it. But this guy's saying, like, don't eat sugar and you won't lose weight. And it's like, listen, if you're going to pound ice cream, yeah, it's not optimal for losing weight. But that's not the same thing as saying you cannot lose weight if you eat ice cream. That is inaccurate. And when people are spewing this crap, it upsets me because they're always trying to sell you something, right? And this is the psychology. If I can scare you enough, then you'll say, oh, I better give this guy my money, right? It's not about the quality of the information. It's not about how well they've described your problem. It's just like they use just enough accurate information so no one can accuse them of lying, but they use all these other scare tactics sprinkled in, right? This guy had like a 15-second TikTok. And honestly, there were so many little scare tactics he sprinkled in there that I lost count. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Amber, I hear you. And I've been through all of it because, like, I had to learn what worked to save my life. If you guys don't know me, I lost 200 pounds and now I coach other people. So yeah, snuggle struggle. That's more or less it. And these people are saying that, listen, sugar, highly processed sugar, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's ideal for your diet. But if someone is telling you that apple juice is poison, in all caps, I'm sorry. I've got to take an issue with that. Because when you start using that sort of language, you're trying to prey on people's fears. Yeah, well, stick around. Kyle actually just made some videos on that. Thoughts on keto? Keto can be great. Like I was on a very high carb diet and I assessed my program. I assessed how it was going. And I decided, you know what? For a number of factors, I think I'm going to lower my carbohydrate intake by like half. Okay. Am I keto? No. Kyle, I'll give you a run through now. Just one sec. But keto can be great. Low carb can be fantastic. But if someone's getting on TikTok or anywhere and saying, if you don't do keto, you're going to die, give me $39, then that person can go fly a kite. Okay. Yeah. Keto short term, keto for a few weeks at a time, 2-3 months at a time is great. Do you have a exit strategy? What are you going to do? Listen, what's the most common outcome of keto? Weight loss or weight gain? Anybody want to take a guess? I don't have science to back this up. It's all anecdotal, but I think we know the answer. It's not just that keto is unsustainable. I think for some people it can be sustainable. Some people feel so much better on it that they're not really that tempted to eat carbs. Dirty Soul Child. Yeah, I do. Why don't you DM me? Or you can email johnoakescoaching@gmail.com. Look at how I spell my name in my bio. So where was I? Yeah, keto can be sustainable. You can get on keto and do it the rest of your life. if that's what makes you feel the best, and that's what makes your doctor visits go well, and that's what keeps your cholesterol down and all that stuff, great. It's hard to maintain a social life. So let me play devil's advocate for keto. Yes, you're right. You're definitely right, okay? On a human level, I agree with you. But let me play devil's advocate. If your social life revolves around eating an unhealthy amount of carbs, how valuable is your social life? Why do we ever ask, like, why does my social life have to mean ruining my body? Because if eating a lot of carbs for you, if you're pre-diabetic, right? I'm not talking about someone, hey, if you're an 18-year-old track athlete, eating some carbs while you're out with your friends isn't a problem, right? But if you're 45 years old and you're pre-diabetic and you sit at a desk all day, going out with your buddies and pounding, carbs probably isn't ideal. It's probably not a great thing for your health. Emilio, that's a great question. You guys ask your questions in the Q&A and I'll be able to get to them when I want to look for a new question when I'm done answering one. So put all your questions in the Q&A. So really ask yourself, why does my social life have to revolve around carbs? I can't bring my own desserts and breads from Aldi to stay keto. Right, why do you have to order bread? Why are you eating keto bread? Right? Aren't you just eating more processed crap? The great thing about keto, when I've made it work for me, when keto doesn't work for me, it's because I'm trying to cheat the system. I'm buying all the quote unquote keto crap, and it's more processed than a lot of the carbs I was eating. Are you really telling me that keto bread from Costco is healthier for you than a sweet potato because it doesn't have quote unquote carbs? Thanks, Emilio. Oh yeah, Gloom Bop. But keto isn't a lot of carbs. I've done keto, and when 2 slices of bread can throw you off. Yeah. Keto isn't carbs. I thought someone was saying like they bring their own keto bread or something. So those are my thoughts on keto. Like anything, it can be great. But do you have a context for why you're doing it? Did somebody scare you into doing it? Do you literally not know what else to do? Like, the more honest you can be with yourself about why you're doing what you're doing, the better off you're gonna be. And that doesn't mean that admitting that, listen, I don't know what I'm doing. Saying it out loud, I don't know what I'm doing. And being okay with that and like accepting that can be very powerful because it will empower you to make better decisions. When we're running around looking for the answer, like it's the end of our lives depend on it, and with health, we know that they do. And it's an excuse for us to let our anxieties run wild. And when our anxieties run wild, we don't make good decisions. Yeah, people can be sick and keto can really help with their illness. But then it's like, what happens when you're not sick anymore? This is a classic survival mechanism problem. You find something that helps you survive a really difficult time. Then what do you do when that difficult time passes and you're still living like you're back in Vietnam, right? Okay. Is it okay to train for a marathon and lose weight? I mean, if you don't mind hemorrhaging lean mass, go for it. I don't know what you mean by okay. I mean, training for a marathon, you're going to lose some weight. It's just, running is notorious for causing the muscle it's a lot of eccentric load on the biggest muscle groups in your body, your quads, glutes, hamstrings, and stuff. So it can be hard to maintain your lean mass when you're running that much. Really hard. You get really stringy. You never see marathon runners who look like they, could lift a house cat off their chest. They don't look very strong. And that's fine for them if they keep running all the time. But think about it. If I took a marathon runner and then they stopped running marathons, which, let's face it, if you're an elite marathon runner, you don't stop. This is your life, right? But if you're just like, hey, I want to do a marathon because, you want to prove something to yourself, you want to challenge, which is great. That means that you're basically not in this for life. So you're going to alter your body to do this marathon and really think about how you're going to get out of it. Honestly, this kind of thing is very similar to going on steroids, right? Because a lot of guys, they want to get really buff, okay? Which we could say is an extreme, a physiological extreme, the ability to hold a ton of muscle mass. And to run a marathon, you need to extend a different physiological extreme, which is massive endurance, right? And you're going to change your body by doing that. And obviously, supplementing with anabolics is different than running, right? It's not apples to apples, yeah. But you are going to change the hormonal environment of your body. You're going to change your lean mass, and that is going to have downstream effects. So if you start running a lot to lose weight, you will succeed, but you need to be very careful. You need to have a plan for how you're going to repair your lean mass afterward and how you're going to prevent yourself from going on the binge to end all binges because hormonally you're going to be set up for disaster. I hope that's helpful and I hope that makes sense. But good luck with the marathon. It's great to push yourself. Okay, guys, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A below. Okay, how to get over a plateau. Okay, the key with a plateau is you have two things at your disposal. Your activity level, the amount of calories you're burning in a day, and the amount of calories you're taking in a day. The fundamental reason for a plateau is that your body has adjusted to what you're giving it through activity and nutrients. Your body adjusts. That is what it does. It seeks out, what's the word? Homeostasis. Thank you. Balance. It seeks out balance. And this is why we lose weight when we diet. This is the fun. Somebody's knocking on my door. Go away. So, you can't get mad when your body adjusts, which is what it does to keep you alive. And that's the mechanism we take advantage of when we want to lose fat. But eventually, it's not going to adjust forever because your body, its number one goal is to stay alive for a long period of time. Think about it. Your body did not evolve to survive times of plenty that last unbroken for decades, your entire life. You were born into a food. What's the opposite of scarcity? A surfeit of food like people 100, 200 years ago would have never recognized. Forget people, your evolving ancestors 100,000 years ago. Your body evolved during a context of starvation. So your body figured out positive things to do with starvation, right? Obviously, it can't turn a hardship into a positive always, but our body has a bunch of these hermetic stresses where we do hard things and it actually has a capacity to make us better. But when it comes to having too much comfort, too much good, a lack of activity, too much food, our body has no way of seeing this as a hermetic stress. It just says, great, I can pack on more calories. Great, this makes it easier to execute my survival strategy, which fundamentally is save up for a rainy day. Spend less, save more. So the way you get over a plateau is you have to adapt to your body adapting. You have to raise the number of calories you're burning in the day, or you have to reduce the number of calories that you're eating. I tend to prefer to raise activity because, especially, well, let me say this, right? I just started a cut. So, when you're first starting, you can do a bit of both, right? It's not that big of a deal. But you start getting past a certain percentage of maintenance that you're not eating, and you're going to struggle to get your daily requirement of all your essential vitamins and minerals. And starvation mode, I don't like that term, but let's just go with it for a second because I'm on the bike and I can barely breathe. Your body's propensity to, freak out a little bit, for lack of a better term, in a context of scarcity, can happen even when you're eating at caloric maintenance, because your body doesn't just run on calories, it needs vitamins and minerals. So if you've ever been eating a lot, been like, God, why am I so hungry? I just ate 2 pizzas. Your body's like, listen, I still need vitamin A and vitamin K and vitamin C and selenium and chlorine and all this stuff that pizza didn't give me, because that's why we call it junk food. It's not a moral determination. That's talking about the nutritional value. So get over a plateau, eat less or move more. I tend to try to move more so I can keep my nutrient intake high. That's actually the short answer. All right, next question. I tend to eat my feelings. Any good hacks for that? You're eating your feelings because you're afraid of your feelings. The hack is to do what's easier, which is, and always ask yourself this, what's easiest right now? When you're really stressed out, when you're really anxious, sit down, look around, name 5 things you see to get present, get in your body, get present, and then say, what's the easiest thing for me to do right now? And the answer will come right away. Sit here, not do anything. Yeah, but I've got to eat or else blah, 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 blah. And you see, your brain is telling you a story that you're going to die or that something bad's going to happen if you don't react to your feelings out of a survival mechanism. So ask yourself, what's easier? Getting up, making a bunch of food, or going to the store, or going out and getting the food, and then eating the food, and then spending the rest of the day in a shame cycle, or just sitting here and not doing it? Really, you start to find that the easier thing is to not hurt yourself. And over time, you'll realize that the hard thing is actually ignoring all your feelings. The harder thing is not to look inward and see what's there and see the pain and see the fears, because you'll realize that you persist. You'll finally realize that you are not this tiny baby who's floating, trying to tread water to keep your nose above the water in a sea of hopelessness and powerlessness and loneliness. You will see eventually that all these feelings exist inside of you, right? You are the space in which these feelings are happening. You are the space in which all your senses are happening. And you start to realize that by definition, you are bigger than these things. And it doesn't take too much for you to then wonder, well, if all the things I'm afraid of are smaller than me, what's bigger than me? And that for everyone is a little bit of a different conversation, but it's really astonishing how common our human experience is when we look outside of ourselves expecting good things rather than huddling from the outside world, afraid of bad stuff that isn't there, while we're terrified of looking on the inside at the stuff that's been there for our entire lives and has always existed inside of us and cannot in any way overwhelm us, truly. Now, I say that as someone with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I've experienced traumatic flashbacks today that would ruin most people's year, right? And I don't need those flashbacks to not happen. Recovery from your childhood traumas does not require those traumas to go away. And so often when we eat or drink or smoke or do whatever it is we do, that we do too much, it's partially that we're trying to make the feelings go away, but we're also trying to make the truth go away of what happened to us. And again, back to radical acceptance. If you can say to yourself, I want to eat my feelings away, and just accept that, you'll find that that's so close to being able to love it. And if you can love that piece of you that's hurting, that wants to hurt you, and if you can just love it and not react to it and not fall for the story it's telling you, you realize it's basically like this picture of you frozen in fear at a younger age. It's not a demon. It's not something trying to kill you. In its own dumb way, it's trying to save you. It just doesn't realize that the context of your life now is very different from when you were a child who could easily be hurt by a world to whom you were relatively powerless. Not only because of your size and your ability to express yourself, but your consciousness. As a 4-year-old, your consciousness just doesn't allow you to really understand things that you can understand perfectly well as an adult. If somebody cuts you off in traffic when you're 4, you don't know what that means, right? If somebody hurts you, you don't always know that that means that, hey, that person screwed up and that is wrong for them to do that. And that's not your fault, right? This is why 4-year-olds have to be taught that they're in the wrong, right? So a lot of times that's a two-way street. So 4-year-olds don't always realize that it's not their fault when bad stuff happens to them. And this is why fear is not the number one emotion associated with unprocessed trauma. It's actually guilt. And if you look at the relationship between eating your feelings, the most noteworthy emotion around eating disorders is not the fear that actually precipitates them. It's the guilt that lingers around the edges before and after. You start to feel the guilt before you even do the thing. And then you see that, and it makes you hate yourself even more for hurting yourself, even though you feel guilty for it, right? It's all a trap. It's all a trap. And I'm usually sympathetic to it. I've been through it probably deeper than most people on this call. I'm lucky to be alive. So take my word for it. Your feelings are not bigger than you. And if you see these things and accept them, I know it sounds counterintuitive, and believe me, it took me a long time to get my head around it. In fact, don't even bother trying to get your head around it, because your head's too small. But your consciousness is not. I hope that's helpful. Okay, Joker. Protein per current body weight or ideal body weight? So, great question. He's saying, when you're consuming nutrients to lose weight, do you base your daily protein intake on your current body weight or your goal weight? And it's definitely your goal weight, right? Now, let's say you are 200 pounds and you're 300 pounds and you want to weigh 200 pounds. Like, that's going to be you at a healthy weight. You would eat 200 grams of protein a day. And before anybody says that seems too hard, it's not, okay? It's really simple. You're just not used to it. And once you realize that the foods that are high in protein and mostly contain protein, you'll realize that these are incredibly satiating. And even if you've like turned your nose up at them in the past, you'll realize it was probably the way it was served to you, or it's kind of like, I hate math because I had a bad math teacher when I was in 4th grade. It's not actually because I hate math. It's just the way it was delivered to me. So yeah, you would eat protein based on your goal weight, and that would keep you eating more than a gram of protein per pound of lean mass, which is great because it helps you stay satiated on your diet. It provides your body lots of amino acids, which are the building blocks that your body uses to repair tissues, promotes positive hormone balance, and that's also why you want to get enough fat in your diet. That's one of the many reasons that you want to get enough fat. Carbs are the only thing that are really optional. Some people go on next to no carbs and they're fine. Some people can eat 500 carbs a day and they're fine. It's really about finding what's right for your activity level. You know, if you're mostly sedentary, office job, you don't need to eat more than, 100 carbs a day to properly fuel most of your body functions. But you could eat more if your body handles it well. We're all different. So I hope that answered your question. Does exercising in water reduce the efficacy? No. Water provides resistance. And if you're swimming, or you're doing water aerobics, Vince, that can be great. I know a lot of athletes do water training because it provides a really interesting force curve. So when you say push against water, the force is really similar all the way through. Whereas even when you're using weights, sometimes you can get that distribution of force through the movement opposite of what's best for loading the muscle to encourage it to, grow or maintain lean mass. But yeah, swimming can be a fantastic low impact form of exercise that will allow you to burn a lot of calories while not sacrificing a bunch of lean muscle mass. Am I familiar with Noom? Yes, I know what Noom is. I haven't seen a lot of examples of it. I've heard people coming to me saying, I did Noom and it worked for a little bit, but then they started telling me stuff that didn't make a lot of sense. I think Noom is based on a cognitive behavioral therapy approach to behavior change. It may be good at that, while not necessarily giving the best advice for how to deploy that new perspective on behavior change effectively for weight loss, especially long-term weight loss. So that's my guess. I don't know for sure. Okay. What makes us lose weight the best? Well, the short answer is calorie deficit. The best answer is moderate calorie deficit. Putting yourself in the least amount of calorie deficit you need to get the effect you're looking for. So, like if you're doing, let's say you reduce your calories to put yourself in a caloric deficit. And for the first 5 weeks, you lose weight pretty steadily, right? Everything's good. And then for a couple weeks, your weight goes nowhere. And you've, monitored your salt intake. You don't think you're holding water. You think like, legitimately your process has stopped. Well, then you might add cardio, right? Do you add just a ton of cardio? No, you take the same principle that you would use when you made a caloric deficit, and you would add in just the minimum effective dose of cardio to get you the stimulus you're looking for. Okay. Is it wise to only consume carbs around workouts? Well, it depends on the context. Generally, I would tell most people to not worry about it. If I had a client who was having weird weight loss stalls and they weren't binging, like they were legitimately kind of stuck with a high level of compliance on the plan, I might try moving their carbs around. I might try timing their carbs around workouts. I might try moving carbs away from their workouts, depending on what the workout is. You can try nutrient timing tactics to troubleshoot a stall that's not making sense, because everybody, this is where we really get in the weeds of how do you, it's those 0.01% problems that you run into with weight loss. Because 99% of the time, it's just that people aren't in a calorie deficit when they assume they are. Or more, to put more of a fine point on it, when they should be, right? Guys, take the word should out of your vocabulary. It doesn't help you on an emotional level, and it doesn't help you on a strategic level either. So yeah, if you're trying to eat a lot of carbs in the day and trying to maybe sneak by a few more than you think your body can really tolerate, yeah, nutrient timing around your workouts will help your body absorb more of those for the purpose of building and maintaining lean mass, rather than seeing them float around and end up getting stored as body fat. Do you believe that calories in equal calories out? I don't know what you're saying. Do I believe in the concept of calories in, calories out? Yeah, I do. And I fought it for a really long time. I fought it so long. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to believe it was about hormones and insulin and all this stuff. But here's the thing about people who talk about insulin. Almost exclusively, they don't know what insulin is. And they're using insulin as a scapegoat when they really mean they eat too much and they don't move their body. Seriously, on the internet, you'll get a person who hasn't taken a walk in days and is severely overweight, and because they've taken the Kool-Aid about, you know, like they read a Jason Fung book and now they're on that Jason Fung-ish, and they're just like, oh man, I've seen past the matrix, right? It's not calories, it's all insulin resistance. And all of a sudden we read one book and then we're an expert. This gets people into trouble. Not because Jason Fung is a bad guy or anything like that. But people don't really understand what insulin is. People for the last few decades have been looking around. You know, it's like one of those locked room mysteries where, you know, they stop the train and Poirot has to, you know, go through the list of suspects. And you know, it's one of the people on the train who committed the murder, right? You just got to figure out who it is. Is it carbs? Is it fat? Is it sugar? Is it processed foods? Is it, right? It's got to be one of these. And it's like, oh, wait, it was me? Oh, it was me the whole time. I was the killer. And you look down, there's blood on your hands. It's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I've been eating too much. And a lot of people just don't want to admit that, because that puts the responsibility on their shoulders. And man, when it comes to this weight loss stuff, I know firsthand how it can be so emotionally hard to carry that. So yeah, sometimes people, and I've been there, I spent a lot of years there looking for the culprit, wiping out certain kinds of foods. Oh, it's lectins. Oh, it's gluten. All right, I've done all those diets. And you know what? Eventually you look back and you realize, what was the one thing I had in common when I actually did have success with any of those diets? It was that I just wound down my calories until it worked. And then all of a sudden, boom, losing weight. So yeah, I do believe in calories in, calories out. Do I think intermittent fasting is a good plan? I intermittent fasted today. I'm gonna express my thoughts on this with 2 sentences. I intermittent fasted today, and I didn't do it yesterday. And tomorrow, I don't know what I'll do. That is the absolute best use of intermittent fasting. Use it sporadically. And because if you start intermittent fasting every single day, your body's, you can get benefits from it. But if we're talking about for weight loss, if you intermittent fast every day for like general health, if you feel like it makes you healthier, and if your doctor confirms that and they're like, oh, what have you been doing? You've been eating less? And you're like, no, I've just been changing the timing of my meals so that I spend more time in a nutritional fast. Great. But if you're trying to lose weight, understand that the effects of anything you do are somewhat temporary. Even calorie deficit, right? And your body, you have to remember that calorie deficit applies across a week, right? If you go over your calories one day, but you go under another day that week, it will come out in the wash, right? So even there are times in the day when your body goes in and out of burning fat. And this is actually very helpful no matter what kind of diet you're on, if your body's really good at that. Some people are not good at that. So if you are sedentary and clinically obese and you start intermittent fasting, you will probably build your body's ability to be able to switch fuel tanks throughout the day, which is how you defeat insulin resistance and how you're able to burn fat for fuel, no matter how many carbs a day you're eating, right? And what's helpful is if you do intermittent fasting or any other kind of eating, right? I think the one non-negotiable for me is the amount of time between meals. You know, we often talk about intermittent fasting as being a window, right? Where all of your calories for the day come in one window, right? But what if you ate a really, really big breakfast at 8 a.m. and a really big dinner at 8 p.m. and you had 12 hours between those 2 meals? With everything you know about intermittent fasting, does that really sound like that's not a good thing? It's very good, right? It gives your body a long period of time to bring insulin levels down, basically go into a form of ketosis, or at least forcing your body to switch over to burning stored fuel rather than blood glucose or muscle glycogen. So yeah, intermittent fasting is definitely fascinating. I personally enjoy it. I think it's great for dealing with hunger, because if you're the kind of person like me, I'm a big guy, right? Even at my leanest, I will still be the biggest person in the room most of the time. So skipping a meal for me was like, I don't know about this. And so learning how to intermittent fast, and I even experimented with some longer term fasts. I ate 2 meals in 14 days one time. And do I recommend that? No. Was it a net good for me? Yeah, it was, because it really deepened my relationship with myself. It changed how I view hunger forever. And now when I do put myself in a calorie deficit and I feel a little bit hungry, I might start getting a little whiny, like, I need food or I'm gonna die. And then this other part of my brain comes in and says, no, dude, you're not gonna die. You could go for 3 days. Fine. because you've done it many times before. And then you're like, oh yeah, so I guess waiting till 1 o'clock it's just not a big deal. And once you can tell yourself that, then it's clear, like, oh, so if I think about this, if I worry over the fact that I'm hungry, I'm just going to torture myself. And it has nothing to do with health. Like, not eating right now, obviously it goes against my diet, but that voice that's telling me I have to eat, or you're wondering, gee, is it healthy? Or all those ways you keep that conversation going, it's not about your health. It's just your brain telling itself stories like it always does. And you can ignore it. Once you give yourself permission to, it's so much easier to distract yourself with work or an activity or exercise. Any more questions? Put them in the Q&A. Come on. Yeah, almond milk will take you out of a fast. If you're doing IF for like metabolic reasons, not just weight loss reasons, listen, weight loss, intermittent fasting is frankly easier than the metabolic nutritional fasting, right? Because if you're just fasting for weight loss and you put a little bit of almond milk in your coffee, your body's going to go out of ketosis, and then in about 10 minutes it's going to go back in, right? So yeah, the clock starts over, but it starts over for like autophagy and other metabolic processes. As far as your calorie deficit that you're building by staying fasted, a little bit of almond milk isn't that big of a deal, right? So you want to, again, so much advice BS falls into something that's true in one context and completely different in another context, right? So yes, does it break a fast to eat something with calories in it? Yes. But if your goal is to lose weight versus win a gold medal for fasting, then a little almond milk, it's not a big deal. I do not use a pre-workout. I drink a little caffeine before I work out, but I find that whether I do or don't, pre-workout is a crutch, and it's full of, man, I don't go throwing around the word chemicals very often because everything is chemicals, right? But man, those pre-workouts are, people are putting all kinds of funky shit in there and you don't know what it is. And quite frankly, if you read the label of a bag of bread, you probably won't recognize half the ingredients. You read a label of pre-workout, that stuff is next level processed. Like imagine the problem with processed food times like a lot because there is no nutrition in a pre-workout. It's just like stuff to like give you a pump, which can help build muscle, but honestly, like, guess what also helps you get a pump? Proper weight training. Like, what if you're the only people who really like could really benefit from a pre-workout in a way that couldn't be achievable through proper workout technique and strategy and nutrition are people who are super advanced and they really need that extra percent. Those people might benefit from a pre-workout, but those people, by the time they get there, they usually realize that the best pre-workout is in your mind. Because if you're using caffeine to stimulate your central nervous system, to give you that extra oomph in your lifts, you're actually replacing your relationship with your central nervous system, which ask any, ask Andrei Malanichev, one of the best powerlifters of all time. Listen to him talk about why he doesn't drink caffeine. Because he knows that the relationship with his own central nervous system is more powerful than what some like Monkey Explode 420 is going to give you, right? And just being in relationship with your own nervous system and using your focus to recruit strength and intensity, that has no side effects, right? Whereas all those chemicals you're imbibing with pre-workout, man, who the hell knows? Oh, that's okay. Pre-workout mostly is caffeine, and it gives people an insane rush of energy, which can help them lift more than they normally would. So yeah, you go from benching 205 to benching 215 in a session. But guess what? Once you're on pre-workout, those benefits aren't logarithmic. They're usually arithmetic. So for most people in most situations, taking pre-workout doesn't make them a stronger person a year from now. It makes them stronger usually for 1 or 2 sessions. That's my opinion. Okay, we got more questions. I've already asked that, or I've already answered that in many other videos and in this live chat. If you want to listen to this live chat, the replay is going to go up in my Facebook group, which is called Lose Weight with John. The link is in my bio. You can also follow my YouTube channel, and it'll be posted there. And if you guys would like more Q&As with me when I'm not on a bike, if you'd like to be part of a weekly class session, basically, you can go to my Patreon and sign up there. We're just getting started there. Honestly, I think there's like 3 people signed up for the Patreon, which is crazy because it's a steal of the century. You can get a class a week. You can get 52 hours of instruction from me, more, in a year for less than it would cost you for 2 weeks of personal coaching. It's ridiculous. So I'm honestly probably going to stop pushing the Patreon because, I mean, it's too good of a deal. I know that sounds like a sales pitch, but I'm going to do some cool stuff with that Patreon though. I think I'll be able to help a lot of people through it. I don't really know what after workout mixes are. Generally, it's probably protein. Those are going to be very different depending on your needs. So, all right, folks, any last questions? You can just throw them right there in the comments. Replay at the Facebook group, link in bio. On YouTube, link in bio. Follow me on Instagram if you like. Follow me on Patreon at patreon.com/John Oakes Coaching. My YouTube is linked in my bio. It's John Oakes Coaching. Yeah, so we're coming up on an hour. This has been a good bike ride. I had a kind of a crappy day, so it's good to get a sweat in. Is the golden window, oh, like the anabolic window? Is the anabolic window real? Not really. You can get, I do believe that eating right after a workout is a good idea. If you, for some reason, can't eat until an hour and a half, 2 hours after your workout, maybe on a weird day, 3, is it the end of the world? I don't think so. No. Do I think that there's a little something to be said for post-workout nutrition? Yeah, I do. There are some people who will tell you scientifically that that's not the case, but we always have to balance science with what we see from ourselves and our clients. That's actually the scientific perspective. Thank you, Brad Schoenfeld. But I would say more important than post-workout is your pre-workout nutrition. I've started putting way more focus on that. I think when I get my pre-workout nutrition dialed, it has more of an effect on how the workout goes, which is way more important than what you eat after the workout. It's still good to get a mix of carbs and protein after your workout. Fats can slow the digestion, so if you are trying to get those things digested very quickly and into your muscle cells, you want to go lower on the fat, which can be a reason to go lower on the fat for your pre-workout. So let me throw this at you guys. If you're doing a daily, like if you're on one of my coaching programs and you're lifting most days, you could take all your carbs for the day, split them up pre and post workout, and then have another couple meals throughout the day, basically with proteins and fats, right? And then have like cauliflower rice with it, or shirataki noodles, or just veggies. And someday, that's a great way to divide up your macros throughout the day. I really enjoy that. It's not that you have to. It's just something fun if you want to toy around with nutrient timing. Popcorn is not bad for weight loss. Did my video go live where that guy was talking about popcorn? TikTok was not letting it post. Popcorn is a high glycemic index carb, so if you are super insulin sensitive, maybe it's not the best thing for you. But if you're in a calorie deficit and you're not snacking all day long on popcorn, I can't see why you wouldn't lose weight. Much the next, then I have really bad headaches. What's that coming from, Amish buddies? You lose belly weight and you get abs just by losing fat. Your body doesn't spot reduce. Your body kind of loses from all over. And when you start to get leaner, it is kind of funny because you will notice it and you'll talk to other people. And you'll be like, I could swear, I know the body doesn't spot reduce, but when I notice weight loss as I'm getting leaner, I do notice that on Monday, I go, oh, I feel skinnier today. And it seems to have come off mostly on my legs, but not anywhere else. And then on Friday, when I'm like, oh, I feel skinnier, I notice it's in my face or neck or shoulders, right? And you do notice that from day to day, as you get leaner, when you can actually tell just by looking or touching yourself, your body does kind of target certain areas periodically, but in the grand scheme of things, no, it comes off evenly everywhere. It's like at the end of winter time when all the snow melts, if you've got a big snowbank somewhere in the parking lot, that's the last place the snow is going to melt. John, I don't ever ask anybody how many calories you should eat in a day. You should find out how many calories you've been eating to maintain 330. That's all you need to know. And you can learn that through food journaling, being really diligent about writing down everything that you've normally eaten on a day, right? So go through your normal day, follow all the same, emotional eating triggers, right? Get yourself a very accurate picture of where things have been, and do it for 3 to 7 days. If you're very kind of a habit-based eater, then maybe you can get a very clear picture in 3 days of what your actual average daily calories are. But if you're, variable, you want to get at least 7 days. And the great thing about this is that it allows you to be aware of your eating before you ever try to change anything, which is fantastic because I'm overall trying to train you guys that awareness is more powerful at changing your behavior and changing the way you think and treat yourself than trying to be more disciplined or trying to be better. These are so often slippery slopes that they're all a trap that we've fallen for many times before. So figure out how many calories you've been eating to maintain 330. Because remember, your body isn't 330 on accident. It's there because you have been eating a certain number of calories to maintain it. And if you stop eating that many calories, your weight will go down. Will it happen overnight? No. But it will. And you can keep dialing your calories down over time to get that rate of weight loss that you're looking for. I hope that makes sense. When you're first starting, like let's say you total up your calories and you notice that you're eating about 3,500 calories a day, you could start with 500 and just go down to 3,000. You know, be very moderate. That's about 1/7 of your calories, or about 15%. But because you are eating so many calories, you could maybe go a little bit faster. But, oh good, John. But yeah, it's okay to start small and just give your body time. Understand that the first week on a calorie deficit, especially an appropriate calorie deficit, well, on an inappropriate one, sorry, I misspoke. On any calorie deficit, especially a crash diet, your body's water weight is gonna go crazy. Like, I've been on a pretty stiff deficit this week, and the crazy thing for me is how high my weight is staying. I can literally see like the fat going away, but the scale is like not losing a drop. So you really can't worry too much about what the scale is doing, because if you change your behavior, it can have a different outcome on the scale based on the time of year. Like it's hot right now where I am, so that's going to be different than if it's super cold. Often, you know, when the seasons are just changing, your body kind of is in flux. So yeah, figure out where you've been to make an appropriate deficit, and then only make small adjustments. And make sure you're weighing yourself every day. Take the average of those weights, take a running 7-day average, and only when that has significantly slowed down for 2 weeks or so would you really start to subtract more calories or raise your activity level. Does lemon and coffee actually burn fat? No. Yeah, you don't have to pound water. People talk about how water is like this amazing hack for losing weight. It's kind of like saying that sleep, I mean, like, yes, all your essential life stuff, shelter, food, sleep, companionship, like these all will help fat loss, and it shouldn't be a huge revelation. But guess what? If you're not dying of thirst, I wouldn't worry too much about water. I think it gets a little bit overblown because it's so easy to tell people to drink water. Like, who's going to criticize you for that, right? It's kind of a throwaway piece of advice. But by all means, you know, try to get a couple liters if you're a big guy. Can't hurt, especially if you live somewhere hot. Okay, folks, maybe one more question. Answered that. I answered that. Oh yeah, the Patreon. So right now I only have 2 tiers on the Patreon. I'm gonna have a lot more. I have a lot of cool ideas. So if any one of these ideas doesn't sound like your cup of tea, that's fine, because, you know, we have different tiers for a reason, to serve people with different budgets and different interests and different needs. So, one sec. Let's see how many calories I burned on this bike ride. Oh, 494, 495. Now, do I trust the amount of calories I burn from a machine? I trust this one because this is my bike and it was expensive, so I trust it. No, I do put some stock in it because it is at least accurate against itself, which does tell me, it helps me calibrate by looking at the calories to get a sense of how much strain I'm putting on my body. I do not change my daily calorie intake based on my activity. I just try to keep up an appropriate amount of activity for my weight loss goals. And I try not to go too far over, and I try not to go too far under, because consistency beats intensity every time. So, my Patreon. My goal for the Patreon, my idea for it, is to start adding more tiers, right? So right now we have the $5 tier, which is like, you appreciate all this free advice I'm giving out on TikTok. And we're done. Whew. Now, this kind of cardio I was doing, where I just did an hour on the bike, I burned 500 calories, and I was jacking my jaw the entire time. So, did I put my lean muscle mass at risk in this workout? No. Yeah, an hour is pretty long, but I haven't done a lot of walking today. I've been very cooped up. So my overall activity for the day is definitely not over any precipice. And I will get back to that question, Lisa, for sure. So yeah, this is the kind of cardio that gets you the biggest bang for your buck. Moderate, easy. I'm not going to feel this tomorrow, right? I would not do an hour on the bike if I thought it was going to make me super sore. I can do this all day long. Oh, felt good. A great thing with cardio, guys, is you get to decide how you make it, how you experience it. There's no reason to sit there, bored out of your mind on a bike. You can read a book, you can watch TV, you can even do that at the gym. So the Patreon, here's what I'm thinking. Right now I have a $10 tier, which is basically gets people into a classroom, right? I'm going to treat it like a weekly class. And for the first part of the class, I'm going to come with a curriculum. Sometimes it'll be following a theme week to week where there's a clear thematic progression. Sometimes, if we look on the decision tree of what I think is really important for people to hear, some branches really need to come before others. Other times, if I sense that the group is needing more of one branch, we can go down that pathway first and then circle back to some of the other ones to round out things. So I will stay sensitive to what I'm perceiving from the group of their needs, what their needs are. Also, as numbers get up to where I can justify my time, I will start another tier that is just for extras, like exercise videos, stuff like this, where I talk about cardio, where you actually see me, like I'll take you to the gym with me. I'll show you the things I do, how you can lift in different ways. Like I could show you like literally different examples of how I'd lift in different situations, whether I'm a brand new lifter, never been in the gym before, whether I do know a little bit more experienced, what I do to keep and maintain my muscle mass, maybe even grow it. During quarantine, I just really poured myself into bodyweight calisthenics, learned a ton about it. And I definitely gained muscle, definitely gained strength. When I went back to the gym, I was way stronger because of learning how to do bodyweight, all kinds of bodyweight exercises, and how to use like really inexpensive, easily available, because I didn't have access to any like really state-of-the-art workout equipment. That stuff was super expensive and it was hard to find. So, basic little weights, workout bands, a pull-up bar, you can do a ton. Get yourself a broomstick and put it across your kitchen counters and you can do a lot. Like, it's really cool how much you can do. So I'll have, extra content. I'm going to be making workbooks and coaching materials that will allow people to walk themselves through kind of the way I design a diet for someone so they can design it for themselves. Same with a workout program. And eventually I'll make one of those for the mental game. So people can kind of, by following a guided workbook, kind of restructured their thinking around eating, around exercise, really becoming aware of all these things that they're not aware of right now in how they interact with themselves, the way things bounce off of each other inside their minds and their hearts that cause them to react habitually the same way all the time. And so all of that stuff will be made available to the Patreon members first. And then I would like to do a tier that's devoted to people who really want to master the mental game of weight loss. And here's the hint. If you can master the mental game of weight loss, there's nothing that you can't master in your life. Relationships, business, all this stuff. It really applies across the board. It's amazing what you can transform in your life that you felt completely powerless to. The ruts that you didn't even realize you were stuck in that you can actually easily get yourself out of. So yeah, that's probably what will go on with the Patreon over time. And eventually I might start doing something called pod coaching, which is something I invented. And it's where I would take people who have they're in a very similar place. I would coach them the same way. I would put them on the same kinds of plans. They have similar goals. And I might group them into little pods of 4 to 6 people, and coach them as a group periodically, answer their questions, but then cut them loose to kind of self-monitor, to self-educate each other, right? Because imagine if one person listens to me talk once a week or once every couple weeks, they might remember 50% of it, right? But if you have 60 or 6 people in a group who all remembered 50% of what I said, and they all remember a different 50%, well, when one person goes, hey, I know John talked about this, but I don't remember what he said, one of the other 6 people is going to be able to say, oh yeah, he said this, right? So the group can really function as a kind of an organic self-coach. And I can be there to answer any questions that people don't remember the answers to or we didn't actually talk about, and keep the wheels on, make sure nobody's like trying to rise to power in the group and, selling some kind of weight loss tea all of a sudden. No. But so that's ideas. I've got lots of ideas, and that wouldn't cost the same as one-to-one coaching with me, which runs, starts out at $200 a month and can be easily up to, $500 or $600, depending on how much one-on-one coaching they need, like through coaching sessions. So, all right, folks, that's going to be it for me. You can watch the replay to this on the Facebook group, link in bio, the YouTube, link in bio. You can follow me on Instagram, link in bio, and you can follow me on Patreon and join our class there. It's brand new. There's very few people, so you're going to get nearly one-on-one input from me. I would love to try to find a way to do like live interactive chats. I think Patreon uses YouTube Live. Or GoCast, something like that. And I think sometimes they let you go like interact with people live, which I'd really love to do, like a real classroom setting. I'll try to figure all that out, but worst case, it'll be a Q&A that's really tailored to what you need. So patreon.com/John Oakes Coaching. All right, thanks folks. Take care.